Hi, I'm Eric Pratt from US Broadcast Distribution, and today we're going to take a tour of our NAB booth. We're not going to NAB this year, but in 6 short months we'll be together again, and you'll be able to see the booth in person. But today what we're going to do is we're going to try to take you on a tour of our booth as if you were actually at NAB. We've got a lot to go through, so buckle up and get ready for the ride. The first thing that you notice when you walk up to the booth is this great big control panel. This is Scarhoy's Mega Panel. This specific model is bundled for use with the LPU3, which we'll get into a little bit later. And I'm going to take you on a little tour of it. These are the switcher blocks, and they have program and preview buttons, nice NKK keys. They've got a row of dynamic displays. These are pulling information from VMAX, so we can see our Mix 2 is here. We've got an Axle X TV video. We've got a row of SDI inputs. We've got 2 NDI inputs. And then up here, we have another row, which matches the row below it. And then this top row accesses all the different functions that we can access beyond just programs. So we have outputs 2, 3, and 4. And then we have overlays 1 through 4. We have our multi-view and multi-view layer access. We have our audio access, and then we have the user profile, and then we have our mix bus. Now you can see our mix bus here. Mix 1 is program, mix 2 is its own input, and then over here you can see output number 2. So I'm going to select output number 2, and you'll watch as I can select the different inputs that I have. I could put the XTV video, I can put our NDI feed from the Oxygen 3000, this is our feed from our camera, this is an SDI input from a bolin camera, which is the back of Baby Yoda if you're wondering what you're looking at. So instead of that, I'm going to put Mix 2. Now, Mix 2 is this input here, and if I change the panel from controlling Mix 1 to Mix number 2, it's a 4-way button. So Mix 2 is allowing me to put program and preview. There's 2 inputs there. So you can see I'm putting program and preview is now routed to output number 2. So it's actually creating a whole separate production that we could be outputting to an NDI to SDI converter, anything that you can do with output number 2, SRT, its own NDI output, etc. And then we can also transition to it. So in preview, I'm going to put the Oxygen 3 output, and then I'm going to fade to it. Or I can put on the transition block, I can actually can cut between those two. So transition block is now controlling mix number 2. So that's the input block, and then over here, this is the transition block. I was just showing you that we can access the different mix buses. There's also, we can control the different transitions here. There's a beautiful T-bar here. And then to the right is a PTZ control. So we have our camera, and I've created several presets so that I can step through and very easily manage this production. The PTZ control can control multiple cameras simultaneously from different brands. So it's a really nice way of integrating your production. We could also use it to send commands to the rest of the control surface if we, for example, wanted it to queue up that camera in preview to any router or switcher that's on the network. So that's the control panel part. Let's get on to some other stuff. Let me take you on a quick tour of our rack mount stack here. On the bottom, we have the switchblade 2U, then we have the LPU3, more on that later, and then above that we have 2 KiloView products. This is a rack tray for products like the N3 or the N6, and then above it is Cradle. Cradle is a 1 or 3U chassis for housing things like cards. This is an RE1, which encodes SDI to SRT, RTMP, and then there's an NDI version as well as decoders, and you can populate them with HDMI or SDI, NDI or IP encoders and decoders, and then you can get a 3U version where you can put 16 of them. Above that is the Switchblade 1U. We'll be taking a look at the software on all of these in a moment. But first, let's take a look at Densitron's 4U touchscreen here. And it's not just a touchscreen. It can be. This can be a 4U touchscreen that you use with a product like VMAX. But what we're doing now is we're actually using Densitron's IDS interface, which is capable of controlling a vast range of products and protocols. Right now, we're controlling VMAX. We're controlling this system over here. And we have program in preview. So if I cut over here, using the control surface, you see that it's updating that. But I can also cut here, and it's sending that command over to VMAX, and I have the ability to control what's in preview, what my overlay channels are, what the inputs are, pretty much anything that we program this to. But it's not just VMAX that we're controlling here. We can also control our PTZ cameras. We can control our DMX lighting. If I do a slightly wider shot, you can see our DMX light here. So if I go and I make some adjustments to it, you can see that I can control the pan, tilt, and zoom of that fixture. I can also control the individual lights, so I'm turning off, on and off each of the different elements. So that's DMX control, and then we also have power control through their IMDU product. So we can turn off different racks of equipment, different lights, anything that would plug into an IEC port. We don't have that unit here. We might have had it at NAB, but we'll definitely have it NAB 2022. So that's just what we've configured this particular setup for. But you can configure this for a myriad number of setups. You can do a wide range of controlling routers and DMX sources, and you can use it as a visual overlay. You can use it to configure conference rooms or studios or house of worship. There's a lot of different applications for this product in order to control and automate a wide range of different products. Now let's take a look at some of the different software elements that are available on the Switchblade products. So the Switchblade products are capable of running a wide range of software, and depending on what software that is, the requisite hardware can be configured to run on that system. So we have, for example, in this case, we're starting off with Axel's XTV. This is the X Playout module. It is capable of running your own 24-hour TV station, but also inserting things like NDI. So if we want to go live to air, here's a shot of our camera coming in via NDI. That could be, any other kind of input. So if we wanted to go out from VMAX, or if we want to go out of XTV via NDI to VMAX and then have X Playout control it and bring go live to air for that 1 hour a day that we're in the studio. All of this is possible within X Playout. And one of the other neat things that I like about X Playout has 2 independent IP streams, as well as the ability to go out via SDI and other physical outputs. IP streaming, of course, is really important these days. And we can output via NTSC, PAL, HD, whatever. If we need 2 different IP outs at different resolutions, we can do that. And we can do different IP formats like RTMP, DVB for satellite, SRT is great for any point-to-point, RTP, RTSP, Apple HTTP, and Windows Media Streaming. So we have all of the different kinds of IP configurations we could possibly want to go out of and take our video, regardless of what it is. If we go through and we want to insert, we can mix MP4s and MOV files, whatever it is that we want to have added to our timeline here. And we can run it like a 24-hour TV station as either its own standalone or in conjunction with something like VMAX. So we have VMAX running side by side with this system. So that's 2 of these are running on the Switchblade 1U, and then we're outputting via NDI over to the 3U, where I'm going to show you a little bit more. Next up, we're going to talk about Nimbuses Titler Live. This is Broadcast. It comes in several different flavors, but this one has it all. So that's what we're going to show you. And it comes with a number of different libraries of components. like cinema collection, fluid motion pack. I'll show you some of the sports stuff here, showing you the scoreboards. So as you hover over it, you can see the animation that it will do and the different elements that you can see. But what Titler Live is great at doing is turning data into graphics. And I'm going to take you through a spreadsheet. So this first animated lower third is driven off of an Excel spreadsheet. And as I step through the different lines of that spreadsheet, it has an image for what's on the left, it has a name, and then it has a subtitle. And then to take that a little bit further, I'm going to go down to this one, which is driven by this spreadsheet. I'm going to take off the different elements. Now, I could run them all at once, but let's say this is a conference and there's a speaker on the stage talking about Nimbus's features. And as they're talking, they can bring up social media, live animated updates per graphic layer, and then when they get to the next part, the operator can bring in sports scoreboards and stats, and then sportscast scoreboards, and then new tech data link, and more. So the neat thing here is that while it's spreadsheet driven, it's also controlled by the operator. We can also layer together multiple elements simultaneously. I'm going to take this one off, and then I'm going to change the way that these are handled. Right now it's set up as a rundown, but if I wanted to bring on a bug, and then this is a brand that goes in the upper right, and then if I wanted to bring this guy up, this is a social media post pulling from Facebook, or actually this one's pulling from Twitter, and then I'm outputting this via NDI over to VMAX. So if you take a quick look, I've brought this in via NDI down here, and then I can just bring it up as an overlay. And I can also send it commands from VMAX to Nimbus so that I can trigger and automate all the different components. So there's all different kinds of, let's see, what command do I want here? Animate outlaw. That should take all of them out. So that is how we can send commands from VMAX off to Nimbus, giving you a wide range of ability to control locally or remotely the different kinds of elements that Nimbus can do. Nimbus has, Titler Live has a wide range of inputs. It can read text files, it can read API examples, it can read from clocks, RSS readers, spreadsheets. It has a wide variety of sports data protocol support, gaming for bringing in things, stream labels, clocks, Twitter, Twitch, and social media, bringing in different social media messages, Twitter tweets, YouTube live chat elements that allow you to bring in and engage your audience who are watching your live productions. So Titler Live Broadcast brings all of this together, and then there are the constituent versions, present, social, and sport, and then those three can be combined together into complete, and then Broadcast actually adds the multi-layer 4K 16-channel NDI functionality, which many pro-level graphics operators are expecting, and that's Nimbus Broadcast. VMAX is the living, breathing heart of the Switchblade series. It ties together all of the different components that we've talked about. It can bring in XTV via NDI as playout. It brings in graphics from Nimbus. It has the ability to bring in SDI, NDI, HDMI sources from its different camera inputs. It has the ability to bring in video files, NDI sources from all over your network, SRT sources from all over the planet, replay if you're doing sports or anything else that you might want to play back. It has built-in titles for doing scoreboards or lower thirds, virtual sets for doing incredible graphics, a web browser and video call. For example, VMAX 4K can bring in 4 remote callers from anywhere on Earth just using their tablet or smartphone or PC and this number. So you can bring in guests remotely from anywhere and mix this all together in a compelling and beautiful way that VMAX does so reliably, and then output that to NDI or HDMI or SDI, RTMP or SRT, and do so seamlessly and smoothly, reliably over the course of many years. While we're here in software, I might as well take you on a quick tour of the encoders in the cradle. We have an RE1 encoder, which is the IP encoder, and then we have an RD230 decoder. The RE1 is basically an E1 format and a card, and we are bringing in an SDI source, and this is giving us our preview, and how we're encoding it, what our bit rate is, and the different forms of encoding that we're doing. We're encoding RTSP and SRT, but we could add more streams depending on our resolution and bit rate. So it supports HLS, TS-UDP, SIP, RTS, RTP pushing, and we can also do a substream. So if we wanted to have a high and a low resolution version, we can do that as well. Or we can pop in here and we can adjust things like the resolution and bit rate. Right now we're doing a 2 meg because we're sending out an SRT stream that we don't necessarily want to be that high over to, if we go into here, well, we don't need to go in to see that we're sending to SRT 192, 168, 1.75, 175, port 5000, which happens to be our RD230, which we have added a stream. We have all of these different, very similar kinds of IP inputs, and I had selected SRT as a listener on port 5000, and then I've dragged that over to our output here, and I'm outputting it to HDMI, SDI, and not VGA. VGA turned off, but simultaneously it can have all of those going. And then we have a little bit of some feedback on what is going on with it. It's getting a 1920 by 1080 at 30 resolution signal, what its bit rate is, what the URL is. So it gives us a little bit of information about what it's receiving. And we could set this up in a wide variety of combinations. And we can manage all of the different encoders in the cradle using these different tabs of a browser. And KiloView is also working on fleet management. If you have, let's say, 16 encoders in a 3U rack, they're going to make it a lot easier to manage multiple units simultaneously. Okay, so I want to take you on a tour of the back of our rack here. I'm going to start off with the LPU3. This is Switchblade's flagship product. It has 16 SDI inputs on it. They are capable of bringing in or out 3G SDI or 12G SDI, and then we've got dual 10 gig SFPs, workstation class GPU with 4 display ports, and then balanced audio I/O. It's in a 3U form factor, so it's very, very compact. And then up above here we have, if you can kind of see in the back there, this is KiloView's N3 SDI, full NDI I/O modules, rack mounted. We also have our PoE switch mounted there. Then above that we have KiloView's Cradle, and this is a modular rack mount available in 1 or 3U, where we have these different removable cards, so we can configure with SDI or HDMI, IP or NDI, encode or decode. This particular one is bringing in our SDI source from a bolin camera and then encoding it to SRT and sending it hypothetically anywhere on Earth, and then back to the decoder and then decoding it back out to SDI and then in to the LPU3. Above that we have the 1U. This particular unit is configured as a switcher, so it has 4 SDI inputs. We can also configure it as a graphics station or a playout. So that module would be here. It would do 2 channels of key and fill, or we can configure it as up to 4 channels of playout. So it's a very compact method of either switching or graphics or playout. And then above that is the back of the 4U touchscreen. We have mounted a NUC there, which has Densitron's IDS software running on it, which is doing the automation of the whole studio. So that is the back of our system, and that's our rack mounts. Now let's take a look at Axle Technologies Oxygen 3000. It's an all-digital broadcast console, and it has the ability to bring in 5 microphones, 8 inputs, some of those stereo, 7 outputs. It's got USB inputs that you can use to connect your laptop and run your automation software. It also has a regular POTS connection, which is if you just want to plug in a telephone line. But one of the neat things that I found is that you can hook up your smartphone via Bluetooth, and if you wanted to play music from your phone into the console, you can do that, but you can also use the phone as a phone and bring in callers that way. So you can use your cell phone to bring in audio. You can also not just use your regular phone capabilities in your phone, you can use your apps like WhatsApp or Skype to bring in callers in a variety of different ways. So the Bluetooth module is an extremely flexible and powerful component of this. It also has digital I/O and an optional Dante card, so we can bring in digital audio. And then it has this HDMI output, which is sort of a display that, like the large LCD display on the unit. It shows timing. It shows, well, the VU meters are displayed here, but on the display, you can see it a little bit in the VMAX control here on preview. The HDMI out shows VU meters and other important things. It also has a 5-band EQ, so we can go in here and we can adjust each of these inputs to have the audio just the way that you want them. Overall, the Oxygen 3000 is an extremely capable and cost-effective way of running a radio station or any kind of VJ kind of environment where you're going to want to bring in audio from a variety of sources, say a call-in studio, and it is a really, really impressive looking piece of control surface, as well as being a really functional broadcast console. Now we'll move over to this corner of the booth where we have our mascot Baby Yoda sitting on a DMX par, and we have the Bolin products. We have 2 of their PTZ cameras and a controller. So this is the BC9, and then this is the VCC7. The BC9 is a great big hunk of camera. It's got a 1-inch sensor in it, and it's capable of outputting 3G and 6G SDI and HD and 4K HDMI. It has PoE power, control over VSCO over IP, RS-232, RS-422, optional HD base T, optional SDI over fiber. It's an incredible camera, especially for the price points that it comes in at HD and 4K. For a 1-inch camera, 1-inch sensor, it comes in a lot lower than other competing products. The VCC7 is like its baby brother. No 6G SDI, no 1-inch sensor, slightly smaller sensor, 3G SDI, and it comes in a variety of different flavors and configurations of HD, HD base T, 4K. Again, still PoE power, controlled via VSCO over IP from their control surface. So this is Bolin's control surface. It has presets. We can control, obviously, the camera. So here's us controlling the BC9. We just pop over to camera 2, so we can move off of Baby Yoda, or we can call up a preset so we can look at the back of the BC9 so you can see how many incredible connectors they can fit on a PTZ camera. Moving on, we have Switchblade's M7. It's sort of a lunchbox-sized portable VMAX slash any of the other software we've talked about system, and we are outputting it to the Lilliput monitor. This is a nice field portable monitor, and we're controlling it with a Switchblade's OEM of Scarhoy's Airfly. It's nice and black, and we can use that to control the different inputs of the system, so we can switch between the different program and preview. It's like a baby version of the Mega Panel, so even though it's got a lot less fancy buttons and LCD displays, it still has that same core programming that lets it talk to VMAX or fire off PTZ presets. There's no joystick here, but we can control, for example, the Bolin camera presets or any PTZ camera presets. We could even use it to control a router. So if we wanted to set this row up to control an AJA or Blackmagic router, or you could even use it to shade a camera like a Blackmagic or an Arri or a Panasonic EVA1. Not really what you'd want, because Other Scarhoy products are better designed, have the right configurations to do those, but all of the cores that are available to the Mega Panel and the other Scarhoy products are loadable on here, but this gets you a nice entry-level point to control something like the M7. They're priced competitively with each other. So let's move on to the last part of our booth. Come on over here and we can check out these various products. We'll start off with Videon's VersaStreamer. This is a 4K HEVC encoder in an extremely small form factor, has SDI and 4K HDMI inputs, and it's capable of extremely low latency RTMP, WebRTC through partners, SRT I may have already mentioned, and other IP protocols for getting extremely low latency video from glass to glass. It is the solution for if you're doing any kind of sports where real-time connectivity is essential, or 4K or HEVC. So it brings together a wide variety of really important subjects when it concerns IP video. We have our Yuan products, probably not something we focus on, but they are kind of the core. They actually make a lot of our other products go. For example, the Turbo here is populated with 4 SDIs and 4 HDMIs using these 2 capture cards. So these are the SC400 series, and this is a 4K P30 4-channel HDMI, works with VMAX. This is 4-channel 3G, and then in the Turbo we have a 4-channel 12G Yuan card, and then this tiny little bugger here is the SC400. It is an M.2 format capture card with 4 SDI connectors on it, and this is actually what drives the switchblade splice. Yuan doesn't just make capture cards. They've also got, this is a really handy unit. This is for converting 4K HDMI to 12G SDI, and we can use that in conjunction with something like the LPU3 to bring in a 4K P60 source anywhere in our venue and then run it via traditional locking 12G SDI sources off to the 12G SDI input on the LPU3 or any of the other Switchblade products. Scarhoy's PTZ Pro, this is a controller for controlling PTZ cameras. It is the best controller for controlling PTZ cameras because it is capable of controlling so many different brands of PTZ cameras simultaneously. We can control Visca IP cameras like the Bolin. We can control Panasonic HTTP. Any protocol that IP protocol that is supported, it has the native format to communicate directly with all of those different PTZ cameras, and at the same time it can still send off commands to routers or VMAX or an ATEM to bring the selected PTZ camera up in preview, which is a really handy function. We can actually use this as a switcher. The next step up, the PTZ Extreme, is better for that because it has 2 rows which make it seem sort of like a program in preview can actually operate their larger PTZ control surface like a switcher. We have some wireless here. This is Vaxxis's Atom 500. This is an HDMI SDI 500-foot range, integral antennas, NPF batteries, very robust. And then if you need to go longer range, we have Nimbuses 6220. This has been a favorite of mine because it has several abilities that most wireless transmitters just don't have. It has a Ethernet connectivity on it, so we can send commands to a PTZ camera through the wireless bridge, but it's not just PTZ control. It could be literally any network protocol device. We could control an ATEM, we could control VMAX, we could shade a camera, what have you. It also has the ability of using intercom. Those are regular tip ring sleeve connectors, so you can just plug in regular cell phone earbuds, or you can wire this into your intercom system, powerable by a V-mount batteries or DTAP or included LEMO connectors. As I mentioned, SDI, HDMI, 3,000 feet. I should have grabbed the relay. There's optionally a relay that you can stick in the middle to let it go around corners or extend its range by another 3,000 feet. And last but not least, we have some of PTZ Cam's cameras. This is a full NDI half-inch box camera, C/CS mount. So you can have interchangeable lenses, full NDI, half-inch sensor, and then this is our replay unit. This is capable of doing replay via IP or USB. It's 1280 by 720 at 120 FPS, but now that VMAX 24 supports higher frame rates, we're capable of using these to do better replay and slow motion. And that's our NAB booth. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at usbroadcast.co. I hope you enjoyed watching the video as much as we enjoyed building the booth and putting this together. And obviously, it goes without saying that we love what we do. We're really passionate about our products, and we're here for you in case you have any questions. Once again, thanks for watching.